Welcome back, Fantasy Moto fans, to the PulpMX Fantasy Show. I'm Donnie from RotoMoto, and in this video, I have 5 riders I want you to look at when making your picks for Glendale 2022, tips for the FFL, a weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team could be come Saturday. And stick around to the end to find out how you could win a race use front number plate like this one, fresh off the front of Adam Cianciarulo's A1 bike, autographed by the man himself. But first, as always, we start the video off with some stats and info from last weekend in Anaheim. 19,595 total players set their lineup, the second straight week just under 20K, with 48% of all teams for Anaheim 2 being entered into the championship league. The most popular team, or the sum of points for the riders with the highest pick trend, was 232, showing for the 4th consecutive week that swerving and getting cute isn't always the best path to a great score. The median championship league score was 202, meaning if you scored 203 or more, you did better than half of the paying field. But if you didn't, don't feel so bad, because it could have been worse. This dude took home a grand total of 3 points from his 250 non-all-stars, and also had 2 zeros in the 450 class. Oh, and he also guessed wrong on both FFLs, leaving him with just 79 points, with over half of that coming from one rider. Ouch. Speaking of FFL, this is the first week since the opener that someone expected was able to rein it in, and in fact, it was in both classes. 25% of those who picked a 450 FFL went with Ken Roczen, and 13% for Vince Freeze. Both of these guys are now 2 for 2 in Angel Stadium this year, with another trip to Anaheim left to go this season. Big loser of the weekend was a doozy. 4 out of every 10 teams had Garrett Marchbanks on their roster, including me, and he embarrassingly failed to make the main event after suffering a mechanical in the heat and just simply falling over early in the LCQ. All in all, 106% worth of pick trend had at least 1 0 on their team, meaning that there were more teams with 2 zeros than there were with none. Dan Truman shoots to the top of the Fantasy Experts division in a week we wish we could all forget. He was the only one to swerve on Marchbanks, and it shows. The rest of these jerkies also had Cade Clayson, and 3 had Justin Starling, means zeros literally everywhere. Dan leaps to the top of the standings with an 869, just 8 points ahead of Paul, with JT and me roughly 40 points back, and Steve, the only expert yet to break 800 this season. Just one addition to the ins and outs list for the week: Dylan Schwartz crashed in his heat race last weekend and was seen leaving the track in a sling. No official word from the young rider or his Bar X Suzuki team about the extent of his injury, but it appears he will miss at least the single round to heal up. No big rig or little hill for Glendale, as both Benny and Justin eye a mid-season return as early as Minneapolis, but likely more around the Daytona area. Robbie Wageman passes injured Seth Hammaker in points, leading to him earning all-star status for the weekend in the 250 class. After early race crashes from Aaron Plessinger and Ken Roczen, they are now worth double points going into the Triple Crown in Glendale, with Frenchman Dylan Ferrandis and Marvin Muskin taking their spot in the top of the class. Before I talk picks for the weekend, let's go over some of the intricacies of picking a Triple Crown. The biggest change is there are no qualifiers that you have to sweat out. By the time the picks lock before the gates drop, we will know 100% what 22 riders are lining up in each class. So it is literally impossible to get a 0 this weekend, and anyone with a handicap of 12 or higher that makes the cutoff is automatically guaranteed double points. Double check your early team against the cheat sheet before locking in to ensure all 8 of your guys made the cut. Pulp Fantasy does not score per main event, but instead on the overall result. So if your rider goes 11, 18, 12 for 14th overall, you add or subtract your handicap from the 14th, and that is your rider score for the night. Additionally, you get 3 chances at the FFL, but you can only score once. So if you pick Christian Craig and he nails the FFL in the 1st and 3rd main, you score 15, but are not punished for the one that he missed. The only way to get a -7 is if you pick someone and they fail to lead the pack to the first finish line in all 3 mains on the night. Strategy-wise, the main events are roughly 2/3 the usual length, so this obviously benefits great starters as the rest of the pack has less laps to catch and pass them, and is a difficult format for the Dylan Ferrandis types that typically botch the start and use the entire 20 minutes to catch and pass riders. Alright, on to your Glendale picks. I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. 250 All-Star is an easy one for me this weekend. I'm locking in Hunter Lawrence. The elder of the 2 brothers has been holding steady at a 2 handicap week in and week out, and he's done nothing but stack podiums, finishing on the box every single round this season. In fact, he's the only All-Star in the class that has finished within his current handicap in every single race that he's lined up in this season. A double eligible rider that I feel like many might be scared away from with a negative handicap, but shouldn't be this week, is Jalek Swoll. I think the money is going to be made on the very high handicaps this week, but if you are looking to protect a lead and take a safer team, Jalek is really the only handicap guy I can see with potential. He's finished top 8 in both main appearances after returning from injury, and he's a great starter on a factory bike, something that should do him great favors in the Triple Crown format this weekend. Onto the 450 side, I have an all-star not to pick, and his plate is red. Eli Tomac at a 1 is just not a great value for your all-star pick at a Triple Crown. He's been on the podium only twice out of 4 races this year, and both of those were gifts of his good start coupled with some help from Roczen and Anderson. Eli's starts always need work, and it only takes one 15th place start and a half-length main for Eli to end off the podium Saturday, so there are just simply better all-star picks out there. A 450 rider that I do want you to look at for double points this weekend is Justin Brayton. The Moto Concepts Honda veteran and oldest man in the field has a bump to a lofty 5 handicap after a DNF last round, but JB is as solid as it gets, and even with a DNF on his record this year, he's still averaging a 15th place finish, which would hit double points with the upside that he could go 10, 12, 11 for 9th overall with just a little help from a top guy DNFing 1 or more mains. The high handicap hero of the round, given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out a little LCQ for a big payout. This week, we return to the 250 class with Caden Amorine. The Team Tedder KTM backed rookie this far doesn't have the finishes he's hoping for, going 20, 20, 20 in his 3 main event starts, but that doesn't tell the tale on the track. He gets great starts for a double-digit guy, averaging 15th, and as high as 8th at A2. Hopefully shorter mains this weekend will help the rookie realize his potential, and this could be the week to have him before his handicap plummets to the bottom of the grid. Moving on to the FFLs, not a lot of change here other than you should probably make an effort to pick one this week. The start straight is long, and that could finally lead to Christian Craig pulling on with 3 tries to do it and the most power under his seat. But don't count out Vince Friese, who is arguably a better starter on raw talent and also already has 2 out of his 4 tries this year. The 450 side feels the same. It's probably Ken or bust, as he has the best average start in the class, as well as half of the FFL so far this season. Sexton has been right there multiple times, but hasn't been able to do it yet, so maybe he's worth a look if you are trying to get cute and zag, but between you and me, I would just take the easy Kenny points. Weather is not an issue in the climate-controlled State Farm Stadium as we hit our first indoor football venue of 2022 for this Triple Crown. The race day schedule is your typical West Coast fare. Those of us on the East Coast are going to have a late one with race day live beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 local time in Glendale, and will be broadcast live on the Peacock app. Don't forget to tune in at the end of the pre-show on Peacock to catch the LCQ action that sets the final 22 for the night show. RotoMoto Patreon supporters are the first to receive the cheat sheets as I post them to our private Discord as soon as each class wraps up, and then to Patreon at wide around 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. The standard cheat sheet hits the general public on the PulpMX Fantasy, Twitter, and Instagram shortly after, sometime between 8:30 and 9 p.m. Eastern. Then the picks lock and the gates drop at 10 p.m. Eastern on CNBC and the Peacock app. After the race, feel free to join me over on my own YouTube channel for the RotoMoto post-race program immediately following the 450 podium ceremony, where I talk directly with you and other Supercross fans live and on camera about the racing, the drama, the fallout, and of course, the fantasy results as those become available. Before I show you my early team for San Diego, I want to talk about Maxxis Tire coming on for all 17 rounds of the Supercross season so I can deliver these videos for you. You know Maxxis Tire. You know their MXST tire designed by the king of Supercross and my all-time favorite rider, Jeremy McGrath. It is the newest and most advanced tire in the Maxxis MX lineup, featuring an all-new tread pattern, compound, and composition to provide the stability, predictability, and traction that the upper tiers of motocross demand. The entire SGB Honda team runs Maxxis on their race bikes, including PulpMX show favorites and on-again, off-again rivals Alex Ray and Cade Clayson, available at your local retailer and also at motosport.com. My Saturday team is likely to shuffle a ton once we know who is locked into the mains, but for now it shows Hunter Lawrence at a 2 for my 250 All-Star, backed up by Derek Kelly at a 5 handicap after finishing top 10 last week, Dominique Thury at a 7 to rekindle that A1 magic in Arizona, and Caden Amorine's 11 just dying to score huge points in a Triple Crown. 450 side, I have Chase Sexton with the best starts in the All-Star class, 2 Justins, Brayton is as consistent as it gets, and Bogle still has a ton of value at a 9, especially with his prowess off the gate, and this might be the last week to get points out of Shane McElrath as the format benefits his style of getting great starts, and another top 10 finish would remove all of his value moving forward. And if you want a chance to win something like this, front number plate, fresh off of AC's A1 bike, consider joining the RotoMoto Patreon. For just about $1 per week, you support me immensely and help me make it possible for me to make more content like this, but you're also entered to win race used and autographed memorabilia from your favorite riders and fantasy darlings every single month. This one will be given away live Saturday night on the RotoMoto post-race show with a new plate that I can't wait to show you once I have it in hand, up for February. And sign up for the Insider tier for an additional entry into the giveaway, as well as an exclusive podcast talking fantasy stats on every rider in the field, as well as the enhanced cheat sheets that come out every single Saturday. Link for that will be in the description below. And finally, don't forget to follow PulpMX Fantasy and RotoXMoto on both Instagram and Twitter for injury updates as the weekend rolls on, qualifying info, and stats and banter throughout the race itself, and those fantasy cheat sheets once qualifying is done and wrapped. Thank you for watching the PulpMX Fantasy Show presented by Maxxis. My name is Donnie, and may your chiz this weekend. Remember that 8 is great, and most importantly, have fun. Good luck, y'all.